Hello there, Mia Gradney in the KHU 11 News Studio, reflecting on the award-winning Juneteenth Project and the stories that stand out to me as both a producer and creator of the award-winning documentary series. You know, each and every year I am challenged to pick a favorite. This year it was exceptionally hard to pick just one. So you're getting a double feature, two stories that are very different but just as special in celebrating Juneteenth and the rich history of African-American music. For me, music, it is nostalgic, especially when it comes to growing up in Houston and listening to the radio. The story of KTSU 90.9 really resonated with me because I grew up listening to it. I have always liked a variety of music, and unlike other urban stations, they play a daily mix, a gumbo mix of music, to quote the station general manager, Ernest Walker, who we get to know well in the story. Now, here's the thing. I've known Ernest for years, not so much as the head of the station, but as an amazing musician. He turns up the talent for our cameras and breaks it down. Here's the thing. While I've known him for a long time, I never knew he got his start singing gospel music with his brothers. They were like a gospel version of the Jackson 5. That's what's amazing about storytelling, the discoveries you make along the way. Finally, I discovered an amazing recording studio at KTSU where I got to try my hands at the drums. Such good times while learning so much about KTSU radio and its role and how it works to make sure that radio remains relevant. But we begin with my other favorite story, the full story behind a historical landmark we've mentioned in every installment of the documentary special. But this year we did a deep dive into Reedy Chapel, the historic church where General Order No. 3 was posted, letting enslaved people on Galveston Island know about their emancipation. It is inside the church I made so many fascinating discoveries based in both history and music.
This church is almost as old as Galveston itself.
Reedy Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church, known as the Mother Church of Texas, has withstood the test of time.
Everything that Galveston went through, historically, this church went through. We were here when the 1900 storm came, when the 1885 Great Fire of Galveston came, when emancipation came in 1865. This church was already in existence.
Church members are just as resilient as the place where generations have come to pray.
My name is Sharon Baptiste Gillens. I'm a member and trustee here at Reedy Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church. I've been a member here since the late 80s. Have loved this church since the very first time I came into it.
Sharon is also a genealogist.
I just began to dig and became fascinated with the enormous amount of history that's rooted in this church.
We were part of the Methodist Episcopal Church South, which was a predominantly white congregation in this city. And at some point in 1848, they purchased a lot for the benefit of their enslaved people. This is that lot. That meant that the enslaved people who had up to that point been worshiping with the white congregation now moved their worship to this spot and worshiped outdoors until they could build a church edifice for themselves. So once they got here, I'm sure that their music increased, their drumming increased, their preaching increased, and their call and worship increased.
Giving hope to an oppressed people ahead of Emancipation Day on June 19, 1865.
Juneteenth is my 4th of July. It is the point in time which my ancestors were recognized as people. Before June 19, 1865, I could not research my family as people. I had to research my family as property because that's what they were. They were not listed in vital records. They could not legally marry because they were property.
Property no more, the enslaved were informed of their newfound rights by mostly black soldiers right at Reedy Chapel.
General Gordon Granger and United States colored troops and Union troops arrived here in Galveston not to announce emancipation, but to enforce emancipation. And this church would have been the closest church for African descendants to the port of arrival. It became one of the most important locations for the announcement of emancipation.
And with newfound freedom came a flourish of activity in the church, including acquisition of materials and instruments.
You enter the church and your eye is immediately drawn to the altar, but then what rises above the altar, this organ.
It is a beautiful organ. It's just visually stunning. It's a historic 1872 Hook and Hastings pipe organ. And this pipe organ is only one of two in the nation, and the other one is in the Smithsonian. So it has quite a bit of significance here, and it definitely creates a beautiful backdrop for the pulpit and the altar here.
We actually still have people who are able to play it. It's magnificent.
The music's pushed out of the age-old pipes, up toward the heavens and into the chapel. The sounds are captivating, moving people in the pews during Sunday service. Together, they sing and give gratitude for their faith, their freedom, and most of all, the church.
So that's our history. That's our heritage. That's not only Reedy's history, it's Galveston's history, it's Texas history, and it's United States history.
I always say to you, you never know who stops by the happy hour, of course. My boss is always walking through the neighborhood. Mr. Walker, you like to come up and say a little something?
I'm going to say a little something. How you doing, BZ?
Well, I'm Ernest Walker, General Manager of KTSU 90.9, your community station on the campus of Texas Southern University, and also an amazing drummer.
Do you recognize this one, right? There you go.
My dad would play KTSU in our house every single Sunday. We had a family gospel group called the Walker Brothers, and KTSU was actually the very first station that ever played our record and gave us a chance. So my dad was very loyal to KTSU, and for this to come full circle, for me to be here today is an honor.
What is it that you love about music?
I love how music brings people together. It tells a story. It can make you happy. It can make you sad when you're going through challenges in life. You can turn on to some good music and it can change your attitude, your mindset.
KTSU 90.9 has played it all from the HBCU campus of Texas Southern University since 1973, when it became the first African-American FM radio station on Houston airwaves.
At KTSU, you have what we call like a gumbo mix of music. Normally when you tune into the radio station, you get one genre of music, but when you tune into KTSU, you can get jazz, you can get blues, you can get zydeco, you can get hip hop, you can get gospel music.
Like other black radio stations before them, KTSU provided a platform for artists to launch their careers.
KTSU launched a program that was called Kids Jam on Saturdays. And when there was no other station in the city that would play hip hop, the up-and-coming artists came to KTSU, and we had a platform, and they said, let's play hip hop on Saturdays. And that's how it all started with a show called Kids Jam. And when you think of the Ghetto Boys or UGK or Lil Kiki or any of those local artists, this was the station that gave them a chance. And we continue to do that today.
There is also a recording studio for artists to use at KTSU. And when no one is recording, there's still music being made and artists marching to the beat of their own drum, including Ernest, the very man at the top, forever in tune with his campus and the community, including yours truly.
I'm ready to hit the road.